So since Biden has dropped out to be the nominee for the Democrats and Kamala has taken over, the right has absolutely been losing their minds. I mean, they do not know how to attack Kamala Harris, how to attack Tim Walz, how to go after even other Democrats. So one of the Democrats who got a particular amount of hate after his DNC speech is Bernie Sanders. And the usual suspects went after Bernie Sanders. But again, this is such an indication of just how much they're flailing and just how much they don't know what to do to try to get back in the lead. So here's Ben Shapiro, and this is just total nuclear meltdown mode because Bernie says the most basic and obviously true things. Watch this.
Is astonishing how this person is considered a man of the people. If he is a man of the people, it says something about the stupidity of the people.
That says it all right there, doesn't it? That says it all right there. If Bernie's a man of the people, then, the people are idiots. Okay, thank you. You're on the record. You're on the record as saying, fuck you, to the majority opinions of the American public. I appreciate it. At least now we're having an honest conversation. You hate the opinions of average Americans. You hate the opinions of them, and I support them, and Bernie supports them. Okay, great. Glad we're on the same page.
There's Bernie Sanders saying his agenda isn't radical, Trump's is. That's weird, since you're a socialist.
Let us be very clear. This is not a radical agenda. But let me tell you what a radical agenda is. And that is Trump's Project 2025.
This is absurd. It's absurd. By the way, let me point out the radical agenda, beyond just the economics, very quickly. We'll get to more on this in a moment. First, have you noticed big tech companies right now are trying to mask?
Oh my God. It's a 7-minute and 9-second video, and he's shoved a commercial in there. Ben. This man is addicted to making ad money. Jesus fucking Christ. This is loathsome. God damn. I've literally never had a conversation with an advertiser my entire time doing this, and he shoves an ad into a 7-minute video. Oh my, what is wrong with you? What a charlatan and what a sellout.
Chuck Schumer has already pledged to kill the filibuster on behalf of the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. It ain't gonna stop there. If they got control of the presidency, the Senate, and the House, you are looking at the most radical change in the structure of American government since the 1960s. Easily. And in terms of the actual functioning of the federal government, the most radical change to the American structure of government since the progressive era in the early 1900s. Maybe since the Civil War. Okay, the reason that I say that is because if they get rid of the filibuster, here are the following things that they are certainly going to do. They're going to immediately attempt to impose term limits on the Supreme Court of the United States. We know that.
You think that's radical? Oh my God. What's radical is the way things work right now, you jackass. The Supreme Court are just judicial supremacists who have a lifetime appointment who override other branches of government, not in a checks and balances kind of way, in a where you're authoritarian overlord kind of way. And by the way, there's been 17 different extreme corruption scandals involving virtually every justice on the Supreme Court. And using term limits are radical. By the way, to Ben's earlier point, if you do, you're saying, I think the average American is really radical. Because that is massively supported by the public.
Because Chuck Schumer already endorsed it. He already said he wants to shift the balance of power on the Supreme Court. So they're going to hijack the Supreme Court because it is an obstacle to the things they want to do. That's number one.
It's an obstacle to the things that the American public wants to do in what's supposed to be a constitutional republic and a representative democracy. But you'd rather have judicial supremacists rule over us by authoritarian fiat.
Two, the voting rights kind of stuff. What exactly is in the Voting Rights Act and all of the other nonsense, misnamed voting rights laws that Democrats want to pass?
It's not at all misnamed. It's perfectly appropriately named. One of the things is automatic voter registration, which is a duh in what's supposed to be a representative democracy, right? How am I supposed to take this guy seriously? Okay, look. Let's make this simple. When Bernie says, my agenda is not radical, what's he referring to? Look at this. I've referenced this poll a million times. This came out in 2016 when he was running. Vox decided we're going to run a poll on his ideology, on his issues, on his policy preferences. So look at this. Americans are intrigued by a political revolution. Look at this. Overall, 54% of Americans support a political revolution. 51% of independents support it. 58% of people who didn't vote in the last election, they supported it. 55% of Tea Party supporters support a political revolution. The only group that didn't was seniors. Okay, let's get more specific. Bernie's agenda, raising taxes on the wealthy, raising taxes on big corporations, single-payer universal health care, free college. They polled these things. 73% want higher taxes on the wealthy. 66% want higher taxes on corporations. 55% want single-payer universal health care. And 59% want free college. So again, he's right about one thing. Ben Shapiro is right about one thing. He says, well, if, Bernie's a man of the people, then the people are stupid. That's correct from your perspective. You think the people are stupid because they want a basic social democracy that meets the bare necessities of life, that allows people a fucking roof over their head, that allows people health care, that allows people education without them going massively in debt. So that's the only thing he was honest about. If he's a man of the people, then fuck the people, basically. Okay, look, again, then we're having an honest conversation. But do not try to fight this notion that Bernie's right when he says, I'm not a radical. My ideology is not radical. You know whose ideology is radical? Theirs. Trump's, J.D. Vance's, Ben Shapiro's. You want to know what's radical, Ben? When 48 Republicans in the Senate voted to ban IVF. That's radical. You know what else is radical? Now on their agenda is banning no-fault divorce. You want to know what else is radical? In Project 2025, where they talk about rolling back child labor laws. That's radical. It's radical when 36 Republican senators voted against gay marriage. And by the way, you want to know what that number was in the House of Representatives? This is just the other year. This is very recently. I'm not talking about like in 1978, this many. No. This just happened. 169 Republicans in the House of Representatives just voted against gay marriage. And he's taking issue with Bernie saying, hey, look, I'm not the radical. We're not the radical. The Republicans are. Trump is. J.D. Vance is. Project 2025 is. That is radical. They talk about banning porn in Project 2025. That's radical. You know what else is radical? 44 Republicans voting against extending the child tax credit. That's another thing that just happened. As they go around the country and virtue signal like they're the ones who are pro-family. The fuck you are, bitch. You're not even close to pro-family. 51% of Republican candidates who ran in the 2022 midterms, a majority of those candidates were election deniers. And we're still saying that the 2020 election was stolen, even though we know as an absolute fact that it wasn't. That's radical, Ben Shapiro. And you want to bring this full circle and talk about Kamala? Okay, let's talk about Kamala. Here we go. Let's talk about Kamala. Support for capping increases on food and grocery prices. So the ban on price gouging that she had, 65% of the country supports that. So again, if you want to say, well, that is radical, and the American people are radical, and the American people are idiots, and fuck them, okay, fine. I'll accept that. I'll accept that. At least you're being honest with your perspective on it. But don't try to flip it as if these ideas are not popular, or these ideas are crazy, or these ideas are radical. $25,000 towards a down payment for first-time home buyers. 57% of Americans support that. 57%. Extending the earned income tax credit for low-wage workers. 73% support that. These are all ideas that Kamala Harris is in favor of. Capping insulin at $35 a month. 78% support that. Price controls. Oh, communism. 78% support that. You want to call the American people fucking Vladimir Lenin? Be my guest. Be my guest. I know what side I'm on. Support for capping annual expenses for prescription drugs at $2,000. 72% support. Price controls. Communism. Maoism. They called Tim Walz a Maoist. Support for restoring pandemic-era child tax credit of $3,600 per child. 59% support. Support for directing the federal government to work with states to eliminate Americans' medical debt. 68% support. So in other words, all these ideas are popular. So again, what I will accept from him is he says, oh, if Bernie's a man of the people, then like fuck the people. They're idiots. Okay. I'm willing to have that fight all day long. You want to call us idiots? By all means. That's perfectly fine. But the fact of the matter is, these are common sense ideas. These are not radical ideas. And in fact, the actual radicals, it's your team. And it's not even close. In fact, I view that as shockingly obvious. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.